The murderer gazes deep into Detective Fletcher's eyes. "I'll get you one day," he hissed, as Detective Fletcher led him to the patrol car. The end. Time for bed.
More! More!
Jackson Kinley, don't you go arguing here.
What happens to the murderer, Granny?
They took him to jail. Fed him bread and water. And then they electrocuted him.
I knew it! I knew he had a better ending.
Ward, was there a stay of execution?
Okay, I have just a brief statement. At 12:06 a.m., in accordance with the sentence handed down by the Nebraska...
Mr. Kinley! Kinley! Did his wife show up?
What were his last words?
Did he show any remorse?
Unfortunately, I think he probably loved prison. Some people, it's no punishment at all.
You don't look like a man who's just witnessed an execution.
What's a man who just witnessed an execution supposed to look like?
Pulitzer Prize-winning author Jackson Kinley was invited by Robert Norwood to be present at his execution. Undoubtedly, this will be the final chapter in a book about this serial killer that has ended here tonight at Nebraska State Penitentiary.
Interview with Norwood, June 19th. Why did you spare their lives in the beginning?
The little red-haired girl changed all that. The one from Boston. I kept her for 3 weeks. Walked her on a leash through the commons one rainy afternoon before I killed her. After that, letting them live seemed like a self-indulgence.
So you made a conscious decision?
You mean, did I say to myself, okay, Norwood, go out and kill some people?
Yes.
It never entered my mind one way or another. It was just a way of life. Before I met them, they were dead. After I met them, they were dead. You get it, don't you, Kinley? Yeah. You get it.
Hi, this is Dora Overton. I'm a friend of Ray's. I'm a friend of Sheriff Ray Tyndall. Ray died this afternoon. It was his heart, I think. The DA wants there's going to be an autopsy. The funeral is this Wednesday.
Ray.
Our Father, we pray that you would be most gracious with those who mourn, casting your loving care upon them that they may know thy great compassion, mercy, and comfort. Take us from this place with a remembrance of the joy that so filled our dear departed brother.
Well, here's to you, old buddy. Kinley, everything you've been searching for is here. What the hell?
In an age of mass death, one life unlawfully taken still matters so much that the failure to discover how and by whom that life was taken contains all we know of romantic terror. Jackson Kinley.
Who's there? Hello?
Ray's journal.
Mr. Kinley, Theodore Warfield, District Attorney. Please have a seat. I've read most of your books. Ray and I discussed them. The one that I found most provocative was on Wesley Bright. How'd you happen to be interested in him?
Killed an entire family. I was curious why a man would do something like that.
Today they call them sociopaths. Back in the 19th century, you know what they would have called him? A moral imbecile. Evil, pure and simple. It's in their genes.
Well, maybe so.
You attended his execution.
Yes, I did. Wasn't pretty.
No. That's where you're wrong, Mr. Kinley. They're beautiful, majestic even. It's one of the few places where we get to dispense pure and true justice. Well, now, you didn't come here to discuss my theories on the law. What could I do for you?
Do you know what Ray was doing out in the canyon?
Never know with Ray.
I was wondering if I could have a look at the autopsy report.
Autopsy report?
You requested an autopsy.
I'll get it for you.
And the police report, if I may.
There wasn't an investigation.
Well, they would have written up a report. It's standard procedure.
There wouldn't be much in it.
No, I know. It's just photographs, initial observations. The cops never leave it blank. Sometimes it's never more than a weather report. It's always filled in.
Miss Hunter? Did you find what you were looking for, Mr. Kinley? I take it you suspected foul play. Any sign of that in our reports?
Nope.
Well, good. I'd like to know about it if you did.
You'd be the first person I'd have told.
Good. You know, Ray's passing was a tragedy to us all. I know you and he were close.
Yeah.
You were here last time 6, 7 years ago?
Yeah, for my grandmother's funeral.
You know, Ray was awfully proud of you. He read and he reread your books. Well, now, if there's anything else we could do for you, just let us know. I like to keep an open door here to the public.
There is one thing. Dr. Stark signed the coroner's report. That would have to be Vernon Stark?
Yes, that's right. Thank you.
Little Jack Kinley.
Oh, it's good to see you again, Doctor.
Come on in, son. Sit down. How are you? Are you still a sufferer, my boy? Or those attacks you used to have, the asthma?
Oh, no, I finally outgrew it.
Do you remember that day? It was about a month before we learned about your mama's passing.
What day?
We almost lost you. You were about 5, and you were suffocating, turning blue. The old woman brought you in. She didn't have a potion for that one. She hated to admit she needed my help.
Granny Dollar.
I thought you were already dead. We tried an injection, but it didn't work. You wouldn't breathe. Then I thought of something. One last try. We put you in a car and drove as fast as we could. Your grandmother held your head out the window so the air was forced down your lungs.
I don't remember. Don't remember that particular attack.
Well, that's the glory of childhood. You can forget such evil things. Death was very close to you that day. Death was snatching at you. Just like that.
Well, actually, sir, I came to ask you about another death. Ray Tyndall's. You did the autopsy?
A massive heart attack. As massive as I've ever seen.
You're certain?
Oh, he wouldn't slow down. Smoked, drank, overworked.
Well, was he taking any medication?
Oh, just the opposite. He was doing everything wrong. I told him 100 times to stay away from doing anything strenuous. Then he walks down the canyon. You used to live over there. You know what that canyon's like. If he told me he was going there, I'd have pulled the pistol out and said, "Here, Ray, just shoot yourself. It'll save us the trouble of having to hunt for you." In a way, he killed himself. He knew that canyon was no place for him. Oh, don't play with that, son.
What do you want?
I'm looking for Dora Overton.
I'm her.
I'm Jackson Kinley.
I know who you are.
I want to thank you for calling me about Ray.
Ray would have wanted that. Wouldn't he?
You and Ray were...
Yes.
I never mentioned you to me.
Why are you here?
Did you take his files? I was going through some of his things last night, and I noticed that the O's were missing from his files. O, Overton.
Want to come in? Ray's journal. I needed it to see if it had the answer. It didn't.
Answer to what?
Ray and I drifted apart. I thought it could have had to do with it. I'd asked Ray to help me out with a personal matter.
So, the missing files, did you take those too?
No, I could have, but they were gone already. Ray told me about you in high school, what you were like. Real quiet, genius. He said that you were best friend.
Yeah. Well, Ray was, he was my only friend.
He was proud of you. He would write to you, but you never wrote back.
We spoke a few weeks ago. But yeah, I didn't write. I don't know, it was always Ray. I was left it to him.
He said you could play.
Yeah, a little.
Go ahead.
Scheherazade. That's one of your favorites?
Ray brought it.
Ray brought this?
He liked it. Go ahead. Will you be staying?
Staying?
Sequoia.
No, I'm leaving tomorrow. I'm gonna miss them.
We both will.
Night.
Excuse me, Dan. Michael, my order up?
Here you go, darling.
Excellent, thanks. Here you go, Al. Be too early. Don't open till noon.
Thought you were flying back to New York.
Nice place.
Thanks.
Had it long?
Uh-huh. What do you want?
I was just wondering.
About?
The missing file. Had something to do with you, didn't it?
Had everything to do with me. Remember a girl named Ellie Dinker?
The woman in black who wandered around town?
That was Ellie's mother.
Right. Ellie Dinker was murdered.
Yes.
By Lloyd Overton.
Lloyd Walter Overton was my father. They electrocuted him.
For killing Ellie Dinker.
He didn't do it.
How old were you when he was executed?
6 months.
You didn't know.
I know he didn't do it.
Is this the personal matter Ray was helping you with?
Ray was helping me with everything.
Talk to me.
Let's go outside. All my life, I'd listened to my mother's litany.
Which was?
Thomas Warfield executed your father. Old man Warfield was the prosecutor back then, and Mom would drone on and on, repeating his closing arguments.
Do you remember it?
Lloyd Overton took a child into the woods. Lloyd Overton did unspeakable things to a young girl who was powerless to resist him. That man there, that man, Lloyd Walter Overton, with malice aforethought, took Ellie Dinker's life. There's no escaping the past here, is there?
I remember Ellie Dinker's mother used to wander up and down here. Always whispered, "Ellie, have you seen my Ellie?"
It's always better to know, isn't it?
To know what?
The truth. I'm caught in a time warp here.
Sequoia Building and Lumber.
My father was working here that day. He got sick and he went home early. His truck broke down and someone saw him talking to Ellie Dinker by the side of the road. And then the next day they found Ellie's dress not far from where my father's truck had stalled. And they found a blood-stained tire iron and Ellie's shoes in his truck.
Well, the body was never found, was it?
No. Got home by 3 o'clock. That's not enough time to Fix a pickup, kill someone, hide the body, and... What? You think he's guilty?
No, I'm just trying to put the pieces together.
And?
And what?
You're no different than the rest of them all.
Rest of who?
Sequoia.
Are you telling me that Ray was wasting the state's time and money on a 40-year-old case?
Well, he must have had something to go on.
I'll tell you what he had. He had Dora Overton. Now, relatives never want to believe a jury's verdict. From what I hear, Dora was brainwashed by her mother.
Your father was the district attorney then, right? He prosecuted Lloyd Overton?
That's right. Sent him straight to the electric chair.
He never doubted Overton's guilt?
No. Overton raped Ellie. Flung her body off a cliff, threw it in the river. Nobody knows where. Nobody except...
Did you know her?
What?
Ellie Dinker. It sounded as if you knew her. Did you?
Well, we are friends. The girl is dead, Mr. Kinley.
Your father, is he still alive?
No. We lost him 5 years ago. The case is truly closed.
Well, there are no statutory limits on murder cases, but of course you know that. I'd like to access the evidence and the trial transcripts, photographs, and official records.
Why are you doing this, Mr. Kinley?
I told you. It mattered to Ray.
Are you a lawyer?
Oh, gosh, no.
Just poking around? Ms. Dinker do the same thing. Harriet Calhoun, she used to be the county clerk. She'd bring Miss Dinker all these files.
When was that?
After the trial and the execution. Even after that, the poor thing couldn't let it be.
When was the last time she was here?
About 5 years ago, right before she died.
Did she ask for anything in particular?
I could ask Miss Calhoun. She's on a trip now. She went to visit her grandson, but when she comes back, I could ask. Well, if you need anything else, you just let me know.
Oh, Mrs. Dinker poked through these for 30 years.
She surely did.
First witness, Mrs. Martha Dinker.
Mrs. Dinker, you saw your daughter at noon?
Ellie went to the mountain to see her friend Kitty Slater.
Did you actually see Ellie head up the mountain? Please. Did you see Ellie go up the mountain?
Yes, sir. I seen her go.
Can you remember what Ellie was wearing that morning?
She had on a green dress and a brown pair of shoes.
Was the dress a dark green or a light green?
Dark green. And it had a little white lacy collar that I made for her.
Did you ever see your daughter again?
No, sir.
Mrs. Dinker, do you see this dress I'm holding? Please, I ask you, is this your daughter Ellie's dress?
I ain't seen it since that day.
That evening, Mrs. Dinker suspected, quote, something bad had happened and went to Sheriff Maddox. Sheriff Maddox set up a roadblock and sent his deputy Wade to search the woods north of the mountain road.
So what did you find in those woods, deputy?
I found a green dress sort of hanging on a limb.
Did you find anything in the truck?
Yes, sir. I found a tire iron. Looked to me to have blood and hair on it. And there was a pair of brown shoes.
What happened then?
Well, me and the others, we went to Overton's place. We sort of fanned out, you know, in case he tried to run for it. And we waited. Then Overton and his wife come up the hill. I got on one side of him, and Chef Maddox, he got on the other. And he says, "Lloyd, you know a little girl named Ellie Dinker?" And Overton just didn't say nothing. His face just sort of went pale.
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
And then you arrested him?
Yes, sir. He didn't put up any fight about it. He just sort of come over with us. His wife was crying and such, but Overton, he didn't offer no resistance.
No resistance. Sheriff Maddox accuses him of murder. Mrs. Overton is there watching, and he passively gives up as if it didn't matter.
Here you are.
Oh, thank you, ma'am. That's very kind of you.
You're from these parts, aren't you, Mr. Kinley?
Yes, ma'am.
I don't believe I knew your folks.
Well, ma'am, I didn't either. They were killed in a car accident when I was 4. I was raised by my Granny Dollar.
Miss Dollar? Oh, yes, I remember her.
Well, among other things, she was a mystery aficionado. Must be why I'm so curious about this case.
Excuse me. I thought you were gone.
No.
Why not?
Why? Do you want me to go?
No. It's up to you, isn't it? You want a scotch?
Sure. You always keep such late hours?
Mm-hmm. Not very good at small talk.
No.
What's that?
Ray, I think he was trying to tell me something.
About what?
I'm not sure. Who else knew Ray was working on the case?
Nobody. Wasn't official.
Didn't tell anyone else?
It got to Ray, you know. Made him secretive. I found him burning copies of old transcripts in his fireplace.
Evening, Dora.
Evening, Mr. Talbot.
Who's that?
Lonely old man comes in here once a week. Sits here staring at me while I work. Funny old guy.
I wouldn't call that funny. I'd call that astute.
Probably feels guilty.
For what?
Losing the case. That's Horace Talbot. He was my father's lawyer. It's on the house.
Don't you think it was odd that Overton would have taken the time to hide the body and then just leave the dress out in the open, flapping in the wind?
Things that don't make sense always bother me, Mr. Kinley. You say you're doing this for Miss Overton.
Yes, I guess you could say that, sir.
Well, like you, I'd like to set her mind at rest. For that reason, I wouldn't like to get into an explanation for her father's actions.
Well, then you have an explanation, sir?
Yes, he was deranged. Lloyd, was a quiet man. You'd have thought that he was a mute if you hadn't known better. But underneath, there was an upheaval. Maybe for years he'd watch little girls go by and he'd want to grab one, have his way with her, and then one day he kills. You've written about such people.
Did you know him before the trial?
Very slightly.
Well, if you felt this way about him, why did you defend him?
Well, my connection was not with Overton, but with his wife, Sarah. She worked for me, or should I say, for my late wife.
In what capacity?
Well, my wife was an invalid, Mr. Kinley. Yeah, so Mrs. Overton did our cooking and cleaning, and naturally I knew her. When her husband was arrested, she came to me.
But you didn't believe he was innocent?
No. The evidence, his manner, he was a time bomb.
Did the jury realize you felt this way, sir?
Overton was following an impulse. He had a need. Like you, Mr. Kinley. Your current need is to pursue an old case. That day on the mountain, Overton pursued Ellie Dinker. The only difference between you and Overton is that he had an extreme need, and yours is a safe and utterly common one. I am old. The case is old. Everyone involved is dead.
Are you asking me to leave, Mr. Talbot?
Yes, I am, Mr. Kinley. But as you see, I am doing it politely.
I'm just an ordinary man, Mr. Kinley. My self-indulgence has set me apart. The day I saw the honey-haired girl in the laundromat or the waitress in the pink uniform with... well, they were asking to be had. But my daily life was uneventful. Boring.
Did Mr. Overton discuss his private life with you, Mr. Snow?
He's what?
You and Overton worked together. You talked, didn't you?
Oh, sure, always.
Did he ever express some confidence? Discuss his troubles?
Oh, yes, sir. We talked a lot.
Well, in the course of these conversations, were you able to get a good idea of his state of mind on November the 3rd?
He was upset. His mind was wandering. He wasn't doing his job too good.
Did you try to find out what the trouble was?
Oh, yes, sir. I had to. His work was off. I can't put up with that. So I asked him straight out. I said, Lloyd, what's going on? But he just looked at me. He didn't say nothing, so I went at him again.
And did he tell you what was bothering him?
Yes, sir. Woman troubles. That's what he said. I got real bad woman troubles, he says to me. Real bad woman troubles.
Mr. Talbot?
Woman trouble, huh? Did he mention Ellie Dinker?
No, sir.
Did you ever see he and Ellie Dinker together?
Nope.
You have, however, seen Mr. Overton with his wife.
Well, sure, everybody has.
So, all you know is Lloyd Overton said he was having trouble with a woman.
Yeah, I guess.
You ever kill a woman?
No, sir.
And do you know any man who has never had woman trouble?
No.
I don't either, Mr. Snow. I can't think of a single one. Thank you.
Mr. Snow? Ain't nobody home. I'd like to ask you some questions, Mr. Snow.
You're wasting your time.
Think you have some information for me? Did you lie about Lloyd Overton? You do know what perjury is.
Son, I got one foot in the grave. Think I give a shit what comes out on me?
Well, just so you know, there are no statutory limits on murder cases, Mr. Snow.
I didn't kill Ellie Dinker.
But you know who did, don't you, Luther? Did Warfield frame Overton?
Something happened. Nobody knows. Now that's the glory of it. I remember you. You was that little boy. Used to play around this neck of the woods. You're one of them.
One of who?
Yeah, you growed up to be just like her. Sequoia don't want your kind around. Now get out of here.
Just what kind are you talking about, Mr. Snow?
Be careful. You never know who you really are. Cut his throat. Denny shot 3 times. Betty stabbed several times, also raped her.
Is that what you do, Kinley? Play these things over and over again till you understand them? I couldn't sleep. I would have phoned you, but I don't have a phone. I brought you these. My father's war letters. I'm trusting you, Kinley. It's all I have left of them, so I want them back. When you read them, you'll see that he couldn't have done it. He hated war, he hated killing. And then after he was wounded, he was shattered. The letters changed. But it didn't harden him. He was good. You'll see. He was good. Here's your pie.
Question is, what was Ellie Dinker doing on a mountain road alone, and why she wasn't with her friend, Kitty Slater?
You want more coffee?
No, thanks.
You're that writer fella, aren't you? Everybody's talking about how you're writing a book about the Ellie Dinker murder case.
Oh, is that a fact?
Uh-huh. Everybody's talking.
Luann? Maybe you could help me out. Ellie Dinker had a best friend. Her name was Kitty Slater. You wouldn't happen to know where she is.
Oh, everybody knows Kitty Slater. She runs a barber shop just down the street.
Is that right?
Uh-huh.
Oh, when she was steamed up, she'd give people hell like she was on fire. Week before the murder, she was real mad. Boiling over.
Did she say why?
Oh, I didn't ask. Didn't have to. A man, probably. They had a way of letting her down.
Anyone in particular?
Why, you writing about Ellie?
I know it's been a long time, but if you remember anything, anything at all.
Well, Ellie never did show up. I mean, she was supposed to come up, and then we were walking back to town together. There was going to be a parade at sunset, but she never made it to our house.
Why would she come all the way up the mountain just so you two could turn around and go on back down to town?
Well, she wanted it that way. I mean, I said to her, Ellie, I'll come by around your house. But she said real firm like, no, I'll come up. Just like that. That's the last words she said to me.
What the hell is she doing here? So, I read your father's letters.
And?
Good men have been known to kill, Dora.
You think he did it?
I didn't say that.
Well, that's what you're thinking.
No.
Then what are you thinking?
I'm just wondering why he didn't testify. If he was innocent, he should have spoken.
Well, I don't know why he chose not to.
Your father seemed to be a very decent, hard-working man, in love with his wife. But when he was accused of murder, he made no attempt to save himself. No, it doesn't make sense to me. Did Ray ever talk to you about his theory?
No.
Do you think there was anything going on between Ellie Dinker and your father?
Definitely not.
What makes you so sure?
My mother said it was impossible.
Wives don't always know.
Sure they do, Kinley. They just pretend not to. Did you read them all?
Yeah.
Starts out so brave, so idealistic, and then after he was shot, it's almost as if he was waiting to die. Sometimes I think that if he had lived, I wouldn't have gotten along with him very well. I don't like weak people.
Well, tomorrow I'm going to walk the route Ellie Dinker took up the mountain.
You are?
I'm going to start where her house was.
I'll go with you.
You will?
Yeah. You're a city boy now. You need me to.
Morning. You still reading those transcripts?
Your father did an excellent job, considering all the evidence was circumstantial.
He was the finest lawyer Sequoia ever produced. I'm prejudiced, I guess.
Well, still in all, having never found a body, it must have left him with a little doubt, don't you think?
About Overton's guilt? None whatsoever. How you doing, Dora?
Getting by. Come on. Ellie left to the backyard, remember? She took this trail. Kinley.
It took us half an hour. So it puts Ellie here at 12:30 in the afternoon. But your father didn't leave work till 12:30 in the afternoon. So she was already here before he even arrived. Why? Was she waiting for him? Why'd she want to meet at the Slater's house instead of her own? Huh? Just to come all the way up here to go right on back down? And why did she leave 5 hours early? So she ends up here. Your dad's truck pulls over. In his letters,
Uh-huh.
he doesn't give any details about his wounds.
He was hit in both legs. Mama said he limped. Why can't I let this go?
Well, I'll be glad you can't. At least you know something about your father. You know your family history. I don't know anything about mine. We got no letters and no pictures and nothing. What's worse?
I don't know.
It's better to know. I used to think it was better not to have anyone to answer to, you know. Anyone whose affections mattered.
Is that a warning? Try and tell me you're a loner?
No, it's just an explanation, Dora.
Oh, I see.
Thank you, honey. Could you just put that on my tab, please?
Sure thing, Mr. Wade.
So, Mr. Wade, mind if I ask you a few questions about the investigation?
Shoot.
How did you first hear about the murder?
Well, we got this radio call. We got this call that Ellie Dinker was missing, that she'd been on her way up to Kitty Slater's house and didn't make it. So we went over to the Slater's house, talked to them. Nothing to learn there. And then we divided up. I took the woods. I found Ellie Dinker's dress. It was just hanging there, bent over a limb. Like it was...
Like it was what?
Well, like it was waiting for me.
At the site where the dress was found, was there any indication of a struggle?
No. Murder didn't happen there. There's no blood, no broken plants, nothing. He must have carried her there from someplace else.
He?
Overton.
And you had no reason to doubt you had the right man?
No, not really.
But there wasn't a body.
Nope. Just a bloody dress.
Did you look?
What's that?
Did you look for the body?
Listen. I told Ray how it was that day. That was my first year on the job. I hadn't seen nothing like that. Knowing what I know today, it wasn't a real hunt. I'm convinced nobody really cared about finding Ellie Dinker's body.
Kinley! Come on out of there. So you thought my father dumped Ellie's body into the well?
I just wanted to eliminate the possibilities.
I checked it out already 6 years ago.
You did?
Mm-hmm. Found Mrs. Dinker in the yard, peering down into the well. My little girl down there, she said. Hell, I climbed right in. Kinley. I want to know the truth, okay? If you did it, I can live with that. Tell me.
Tell you what.
Do you think you did it?
No. With you and Ray. Was it love?
Maybe it was. For him. You stayed the night.
Didn't you want me to stay?
I just didn't think you would. Ray never did. Let's not make any promises.
Okay.
Doesn't mean anything, doesn't have to mean anything.
Right. No, Doesn't have to mean a thing.
You better go now.
Why?
Because it's the way it is.
With people.
No, with me. It's me. I hate clinging women. I hate them. They end up expecting something, and then they end up...
Victims, I know.
Right.
Dora, you're not.
I've worked very hard not to become one, and I haven't been, and I don't intend to start now.
Does a cup of coffee come with this refrain?
I just want to be careful.
Of what?
Of becoming trivial.
What do you want, Dora?
I want to find out who killed Ellie Dinker, and I don't want to die until I know that.
Is that what last night was all about? May I help you?
Oh, my.
Oh, Mrs. Hunter, I'm sorry.
I knocked and knocked. I was leaving it for you. I found the answer. You know about Ms. Dinka, about what she was interested in? Well, Harriet Calhoun finally got back from her vacation, and she told me that Ms. Dinka used to ask for one thing, Volume 4.
Volume 4. Oh, that was her own testimony.
That's right. And Harriet says that Ms. Dinka didn't even read the whole volume. She just read one page.
One page?
Yes. The poor thing would leave the book open, and Harriet couldn't help but noticing. Number 414. I thought you'd want to take a peek at it.
Yes, I will.
Now, I'll be wanting that back, you hear?
Of course, ma'am. Mrs. Dinker, can you remember what Ellie was wearing that morning?